Most of the times when a murderer is jailed or faces the consequences of their actions, I have a sense of satisfaction. But for this case, I am not very sure. Hello everyone, I am Tanishka and I am so thankful you could tune in for this episode. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at criminalconfession_, and with that, let's get into this episode. Again, as I was saying, most of the times cases are black and white, where the victims are on one side and the perpetrator is on the other. But this case is grey through and through. It toyed with my moral compass and taught me morality is situational and any particular moral belief is subject to change over time. This case truly brings justice to the phrase victims of victims. Let's get into the case of two sons who killed their parents and almost got away with it. Let's get into the case of the Menendez brothers. Okay, let's start from the beginning with the patriarch of the family. Jose Enrique Menendez was born on May 6, 1944, in Havana, Cuba. Jose attended Southern Illinois University, where he met Mary Louise, also known as Kitty Menendez. During her senior year, Kitty had participated in the Miss Oak Lawn Beauty Contest and won. In her final year, she met Jose, who was a freshman at that time, and of course, they started dating. They were inseparable. They eloped in New York in 1963 after Kitty graduated from college. However, since there was a 3-year age gap between the couple, Jose did not graduate and actually left the college to elope with Kitty. The married couple now lived in New York City and was struggling to make ends meet. Jose worked as a dishwasher in a nearby restaurant, and Kitty started to work as a teacher to support her husband. Now, Jose was also attending Queens College during this time, and soon he graduated as an accountant and got a job. Things were slowly starting to look up for the couple. On January 10th, 1968, while living in New York, Kitty gave birth to the couple's first son, Joseph Lyle Menendez, also known as Lyle. After Lyle's birth, Kitty quit her teaching job and became a stay-at-home mom. The now family of 3 moved to New Jersey, where Kitty gave birth to the second son, Erik Menendez, on November 27, 1970. After Erik's birth, Jose decided to join the music industry through RCA labels and climbed the corporate ladder and became a top executive at this firm. The whole family went from surviving to thriving in a matter of months, not only because of Jose's knowledge of the music market, but due to his extreme business practices. But he brought major profits to the company, and hence no one even questioned him about this. Both the brothers attended Princeton Day School and they played a lot of sports. But one sport in which both of them excelled was tennis. Reports suggested they practiced tennis up to 45 hours a week. That amounts to about 4 to 7 hours of practice per day. This wasn't even during the weekends. These were school days. They had to go to school, come back, do homework, and again practice 4 to 7 hours. All of this, however, starts to make sense when you get into the mind of Jose as a father. He wanted his children to be excellent at everything they did. Being mediocre was so looked down upon that Jose had told them to not even bother trying something if you were going to be mediocre in it. Things were going to go how Jose wanted, whether the kids wanted it or not. After a while, in 1986, Jose made a switch from his music career and decided to go into the film industry and joined the International Video Entertainment Company as an executive. This switch was such a hit and made Jose so much money that now they could comfortably move into Beverly Hills, California. To an outsider, this guy literally is living a dream. From rags to riches, he had huge mansions, multiple cars, a perfect wife, and perfect sons. But this was all on the surface. Let's delve into the dynamics of this family. Lyle, who was now in Princeton University, was actually on academic probation due to his poor grades and eventually was suspended because he plagiarized in his assignments and tests. Now, just to recap, Lyle is the elder brother and Erik is the younger. This suspension really angered Jose, and he would severely punish Lyle. And I mean severe punishments. Now, I would like to talk in depth about the relationship that they had. Jose was described as having a sick obsession with his oldest son. Jose was also psychologically, physically, even sexually abusive towards Lyle and Erik. Jose would punish Lyle for crying and punching him or even sending him away. Now, Lyle had actually started balding in his early teens, and he was, of course, very insecure about this fact. Now, Jose, instead of teaching him to accept himself and move on, he started making fun of his physical appearance and even taunting him, calling him an old man, and forcing him to wear a toupee to social events. Now, to just give you an idea how intense this abuse was, and we will get into this further in the case, I would like to take a quote from Lyle. Now, the he refers to during this quote is his father. Open quote. Between the ages of 6 and 8, after sports, he would massage me and have these talks with me. Show me. He would fondle me and ask me to do the same to him. Okay, now let's get to the mom. Lyle's and Erik's mom, Kitty, knew all about this torture and she did nothing. In fact, according to the testimonial, when Lyle had told Kitty what had happened to him, she told Erik to stop exaggerating and that his dad had every right to punish him when he did things wrong. She supposedly even locked Erik in a closet to try to get him to study, and she would leave the house and Erik all alone in the closet. Erik didn't even have access to the bathroom during the hours he was locked in the closet. Supposedly, Kitty even had a small notebook in which she used to write all the mischievous things Erik and Lyle had done during the day, and when Jose returned, she would present this list to their father and expect both of their sons to get punished. Now, after Lyle had gotten suspended from Princeton University, Jose decided to get him a job in his own company. Unfortunately, Lyle here too had built a rep for himself, and it wasn't very positive. He would leave his job early, he would slack off during office hours, and he would rudely talk down to his juniors. I wonder where he picked that up from. Now, going back to Jose, he was described as being a shark in his business, and his end goal was making as much as money as possible without caring whose toes he trampled on to get there. Now, these traits had made him a CEO of this company within a year. No surprise, his employees hated him. Jose even sexually assaulted his employees, and these employees were not restricted to women. He had extramarital affairs which supposedly Kitty knew about. Let's divert our attention to Erik, the youngest son. He was Jose's spare. The expectations on him were nowhere near as high as they were with Lyle, but they were still high. Erik was a rebel. Despite being the son of a millionaire, he and his friends would crack other people's safes and try to steal from them. Erik and Lyle had no reason to steal. It probably gave them a rush, a high, probably a coping skill to deal with their traumas. Speaking of coping skills, I have a clip from his testimony about how he would try to cope with the assault which his father was inflicting upon him. Here's another incident of Lyle talking about what his father did to him.
Did he do to you?
He used objects.
What kind of objects?
A toothbrush and some sort of shaving utensil brush.
And what would he do with the toothbrush?
Well, in the bedroom, we'd have what we called object sessions, and just slide my pants down or take my pants off Sometimes it'd be for a short period of time, sometimes longer. Just lay me on the bed and he'd have a tube of Vaseline and he just played with me.
August 20, 1989. On the evening of August 20, 1989, Jose and Kitty were standing in the den of the Beverly Hills mansion when Lyle and Erik entered the den carrying shotguns they had bought 2 days before. It was pre-planned. Jose was shot 6 times, which included the fatal shot in the back of his head. Kitty was shot 10 times in total. Somehow, she was on the ground, alive, crawling and moaning for help. Lyle saw his mother. He ran back to his car, reloaded his gun, and shot her in the face. Now, as you all know, shotguns are super powerful, and these were fired at a very close distance, so as you can expect, the whole crime scene was a mess. There was blood everywhere. White walls were tainted red with blood. In fact, Kitty's face could not even be recognized. It was dismembered beyond recognition. Lyle's and Erik's initial plan was to shoot their parents, go to the tennis court, pretend as if they were playing tennis when they heard the gunshots, and ran to help their parents. That would explain why they were covered in blood. They expected someone to hear the gunshots and call the police. No one had heard the gunshots. No one called the police. They waited for a while and realized no police was coming. They left the house, watched a movie. In fact, they also went to a festival, came back to their house, and then called the police. The phone call placed between Lyle and Erik to the police will be posted on our Instagram at criminalconfession_, so be sure to check that out. Now, since Erik and Lyle were so distraught after the murder of their parents, police never doubted them. They didn't even check them for gunshot residues. In the months after the killings, the brothers began to spend extravagantly on luxury items, businesses, and even travel. Lyle bought a cafe, a Buffalo Wing restaurant in Princeton and New Jersey, as well as a Rolex and a Porsche. Erik hired a full-time tennis coach and competed in a series of tournaments in Israel. The brothers eventually left the Beverly Hills mansion and lived in a nearby area called Marina Del Rey. They also dined expensively and went on overseas trips to the Caribbean and London. They collectively spent approximately $700,000 before their arrests. The police initially focused their search on anyone who might have had reasons for killing Jose and Kitty, while also looking into possible mob links because of the gruesome nature of the crimes. Now, during this time, Lyle and Erik weren't even suspects. Police started to suspect Lyle and Erik due to the clear financial motivation and the brothers' extravagant spending following the killings. They started to believe that the brothers were most likely culprits, and the investigation progressed. As now Erik and Lyle were the main suspects in this case, police, in an effort to coax a confession out of Erik, had his buddy Greg wear a wire as they had lunch at a nearby beachfront restaurant. However, when Greg questioned Erik about killing his parents, Erik flatly denied it. This Greg was also the same friend who Erik and Lyle used to crack safes with. Erik, however, finally came clean to his psychologist, who told his mistress, who later revealed the brothers' involvements to the police. Erik surrendered after arriving in Los Angeles from Israel 3 days after Lyle was detained on March 8, 1990. They were both detained without bail and kept apart. The police were now stuck in a bit of a pickle. The conversation was now around doctor-patient confidentiality and whether the conversations between Erik and his therapist or the mistress would be admissible in court. but it later came to light that Lyle had known about this and had threatened the mistress, which had violated the doctor-patient confidentiality. The proceedings were then delayed for 2 years. After that, a Los Angeles County grand jury issued indictments in December of 1992 charging the brothers with the murder of their parents. Finally, let's get to the trials. Leslie Abramson's The Brothers' Defense Journey claimed that the brothers killed their parents out of fear for their safety following a lifetime of abuse at the hands of their parents, especially sexual abuse at the hands of their father, who was characterized as a cruel perfectionist and a pedophile. Their mother, however, was portrayed as an abusive, violent, enabling, self-centered alcoholic and a drug user who supported her husband's violent behavior. 2 family members had actually testified in favor of the accusations made against the couple. Andy Cano, the cousin of the brothers, claimed that Erik had told him as a child about the sexual assault, and they both referred to it as, unquote, penis massages. Inappropriate pictures of both Erik and Lyle, which were clicked by their father, were brought to court as evidence. Even the jury had flinched after they were presented in court. Now, Lyle's prosecutor, Pam Bosnick, had argued that, unquote, men could not be raped because they lacked the necessary equipment to be raped. When the judge asked him, "Did you kill your parents?" Erik had stated, "As I went into the room, I just started firing." And that is how the first trial ended. The first trial was heavily publicized and got a lot of eyes. However, the next trial, the second one, was not publicized. The second trial ended when both of them were charged life in prison and were separated. Erik and Lyle were 21 and 18 when they were charged. From 1996 to 2018, these 2 brothers, after going through so much in life, didn't even get to see each other during their sentence. But recently, they were united in 2018, where reports say they just started hugging each other and started crying. There is a recent development to this case. Roy Rizzello, who was in a Latin boy band, which Jose had helped sign, says he was raped by Jose Menendez while he was an executive at RCA Records. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, which prosecuted the 2 trials in 1990s, told CNN in a statement. So there is a little hope for these brothers at the end of the day. We have finally reached the end of the story of the Menendez brothers. I hope you guys liked the episode. Support, share and subscribe. And don't forget to vote on our poll for the giveaway, which is linked on our first episode. See you soon.